Just recently, Representative Steve King decided to tweet a questionable endorsement of white supremacy. Now, he implied white supremacy, and we'll get to that tweet in just a second, but just so you get a sense of where Representative King comes from, apparently after a meeting with Geert Wilders and Frok Petri, anti-immigrant demagogues from the Netherlands and Germany, respectively, in September of 2016, King even tweeted a photo with the aphorism, cultural suicide by demographic transformation must end. So let's take a quick look at that. All right, so these are essentially people who think white is right, everything else is wrong, and we don't want the mixing of cultures, we don't want, interracial reproduction. They're just terrible people. And he's like, all right, these guys are cool.
This is what Steve Bannon talks about when he talks about the Camp of the Saints, that random book from 1973 that they're all obsessed with. When the immigrants come over to Europe, that was in that book, and here in America, Steve Bannon thinks it's cultural suicide. Our culture is white Western civilization, and they're killing it with all their brownness.
Right, so let's just put that tweet up one more time. Those guys believe they're superior to anyone who's not white.
They've got to protect those genes?
I just want to put that out there. Just putting that out there, okay. All right, so now, what is Steve King getting heat for? What did he recently do? Well, he tweeted this. He says, Wilders understands that culture and demographics are our destiny. We can't restore our civilization with somebody else's babies.
That's unbelievable. What do you mean somebody else's babies?
Okay,
what do you mean by that? Everybody knows what he means by that. Well, I don't want all those Latino babies in here. They reproduce a lot. I don't want those Muslim babies in here. I want the white babies. That's our demographics and our destiny. Yeah. But if they get into our gene pool, then we can't get them out. Yuck. Other people's babies.
Okay, so it's interesting because conservatives are all about white women reproducing, right? Which is why they're like anti-abortion. Let's do whatever we can to make abortion as inaccessible as possible. But when they do that, it actually impacts minorities the most. I mean, it's specifically impacting those in a lower socioeconomic status, right? And unfortunately, minorities are usually in a lower socioeconomic status compared to white individuals because of things like institutionalized racism and all that. So it's interesting because wealthy white women, they're gonna get their abortion anyway, right? And those are the very people that he wants to reproduce. So
since that's happening and he recognizes it's happening, he's like, what's left? Well, we got to keep them out.
Yep.
We got to keep them and their babies out. Otherwise, there are going to be more of them than us. And by America, he doesn't think all of us together. He doesn't think melting pot. No. He thinks the white folks.
So he got so much criticism for that tweet. And in Trump era, things are a little different, okay? You don't backpedal and try to save yourself from a PR nightmare, you just double down. And that's exactly what he did when Chris Cuomo was interviewing him. Take a look.
What did you mean?
Well, of course, I meant exactly what I said, as it always is the case, Chris. And to expand on that a little further, I've been to Europe and I've spoken on this issue, and I've said the same thing as far as 10 years ago to the German people and to any population of people that is a declining population that isn't willing to have enough babies to reproduce themselves. And I've said to them, you cannot rebuild your civilization with somebody else's babies. You've got to keep your birth rate up, and that you need to teach your children your values, and in doing so, then you can grow your population and you can strengthen your culture, you can strengthen your way of life. And that's not happening in any of the Western European countries. France comes the closest to having a birth rate that's a replacement rate, but it's a clear message that we need to get our birth rates up or Europe will be entirely transformed within a half a century or a little more. And Geert Wilders knows that, but we've also aborted nearly 60 million babies in this country since 1973. And there's been this effort that we're going to have to replace that void with somebody else's babies, and that's that push to bring in much illegal immigration into America, living in enclaves, refusing to assimilate into the American culture and civilization.
Like you were trying to say someone else's babies means you're either white or you're not right, and as you know, that is anathema to what America's all about. Can we get agreement on that?
Well, here's actually, if you go down the road a few generations or maybe centuries with the intermarriage, I'd like to see an America that's just so homogenous that we look a lot the same from that perspective. I think there's been far too much focus on race, especially in the last 8 years.
You keep making this point that this country needs to be about white people raising their birth rate and not bringing in other people. That's exactly what America is not.
But Chris, I never have made that point. I've never said that. I've been characterized as saying that. I've had the blogs out there say I said that, but I tell them, go back and watch the tape, listen to it, just listen to the language. Our language is precise. That's not out there.
Just doubling down. I would like to see a country so homogenous. He totally took a crap on interracial relations and was like, I'd like to see a country that's homogenous, meaning I just want white people to recreate or reproduce, I should say, with white people, and that's it. And let's keep the Muslims and the brown people out.
Yeah, he thinks he's being cute there by the end. We were very precise with our language. I never said white people. Dude, you said keep the other babies out. This is not complicated. He said, Chris Cuomo, good job there, asked you point blank, you're not saying white is right, are you? I mean, that's not what America's about. And he's like, well, actually, you just saw it, rewind the tape, watch his answer. It's not a hard question. White's not right, you don't mean that, right? You mean the other races are fine. I mean, we're America, right? Well, actually.
Also, isn't it extremely creepy that he spends most of that answer talking about the sex habits of individuals in America, right? Like, and talking about who should have babies and who shouldn't. Like, how about you do you, boo, okay? Like, you worry about yourself. You worry about who you're fucking, but leave the rest to us.
So this is actually very biblical, and it's all the peoples of the book, the Old Testament, New Testament, and the Quran. So much of the book is dedicated to build up your own tribe, kill all the other tribes, right? So we need to have more babies, because the Israelites need to beat the Canaanites, and the Canaanites are having lots of babies, and so are the Philistines. We got to go murder them all, okay? And let's cut their circumcision and do the circumcision on them, and when they're in pain, slaughter them all. And then God wants you to defeat all the other gods. Read the Old Testament if you don't believe me. And by the way, read all of them. New Testament, read the Quran. It's filled with this stuff. So that's why they perceive it that way. To them, they got to build up their army. The white people have to keep it pure, and they have to have more babies, so they keep out the other brown people. Those are the others, those are the others. God told me to reproduce among my own kind. The Israelites are the best, the Canaanites are the worst, the Philistines are the worst. Now, at this day, we're not talking about the actual Israelites. It's an analogy for how they perceive themselves. I mean, this guy has the nerve to come out and says, no, I've been telling the German people this all along. The German people already kind of knew that back in the day. Luckily, Germany is far more liberal today than Steve King or, of course, anything in the past. By the way, in Germany, when he says that, you know what he's talking about. The right wing in Germany is like, we have to keep the Turks out. They're the ones that are coming into Germany. That's the big immigrant group in Germany. And but they're all brown and oliveness. They're ruining the good German genes. Yeah, mach schnell, get them out. And he says you have to teach your children your values.
Yeah, good luck with that.
And these are the values you're going to teach your kids?
Yeah, of course it is. He's not alone. Look, on one hand, this is actually great. And it's not great because his thought process is a positive thing or a good thing for America. It's great because we finally have some transparency about the very obvious racism that some of our politicians have, okay? They would pretend that they weren't racist for the longest time. They would pretend like they didn't believe in white supremacy. And now, because of the Trump era, they're like, I'm racist. Hey, everyone, I'm racist.
That's
I'm racist. Homogeny.
So Trump gave them permission to come out of the racist closet.
It's insane.
And King has come out fabulously. And so if you want the new Klan, Steve King is your man. You know who created journalism you could be proud of? You did. Our audience helped us hire an investigative reporting team. Now we're going to go for a second. tytnetwork.com/go. Let's build the best reporting team in the country together.